shows hair straighteners replacing hair dryers and lip gloss taking over from lipstick. BBC News.
Now on Radio 4, Sandi Toksvig looks into a library with a difference. Instead of a book, you borrow a person. The human library is a groundbreaking idea from Denmark, but as Sandi discovers, the experience of borrowing the kind of person you normally wouldn't like can be uncomfortable as well as illuminating.
Imagine a library where you borrow a real person instead of a book, and the person you take out is someone you normally don't think you'd like, representing a group often subject to prejudice. It could be anyone, from a Muslim to a goth, from a gay man to a policeman. Well, this library exists. It's called the Human Library, and its aim is to challenge the prejudices we all hold. The idea is that you choose a living book, then go off and have a conversation in which you're encouraged to be totally frank and ask any questions you like. After hearing these stories, I couldn't wait to start reading a book myself. Well, now you're my first living book, so I'm not quite sure how we do. Shall we sit down? Shall we go and how about that? We'll start with having a seat. Could you give me what would be the title of the book I've just taken out and who it's by, who's the author?
Well, I think my book title would be Woman with a Facial Disfigurement.
OK.
And the author would be Victoria Wright.
Victoria or Vicky?
Vicky's fine.
I don't know how friendly I am. Are you a paperback or a hardback, you know?
Well, I like the look of you. You look like a nice person.
Be all right, so I can call you Vicky. Now, I like to think, Vicky, that I don't have any prejudices where people are in any way physically different. So I'm not sure that I would have taken you out of this book. So I wonder what kind of people would choose to take out somebody whose title is facial disfigurement?
Well, it might not be somebody who thinks they have a prejudice, as in, you know, oh, I'm not going to like that person, I'm going to hate that person. But it might be somebody who perhaps has some unconscious assumptions about what it must be like to have a facial disfigurement. Maybe they think, I wonder if she's, you know, really shy and quiet and a bit sad and tragic.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
some terrible Dickensian character.
Exactly, some sort of weeping invalid. Or maybe they'd think, gosh, I wonder just how funny-looking she really is. I wonder if she looks like something out of a Channel 5 documentary, in which case I'll take her out and have a good look at her. So,
isn't it funny, because when I heard you were coming in, my first question was, well, how bad is it? Because I didn't want to give a bad reaction. I didn't want in any way to offend you.
Ah, but you see, you're already showing some assumptions there. You already said, how bad is it?
Yeah.
So already you're associating disfigurement with badness, which is a big part of the stigma around facial disfigurement and disability, and that people associate it with something that is wrong, that is abnormal, that is bad, that is tragic, that's perhaps a little bit evil.
It's almost a medieval reaction, isn't it?
It is.
Well, I feel bad
completely
now.
understand. That's right. That's right.
I thought I didn't
you
have
didn't
any.
throw stones at me when you first met me. It's perfectly fine. Or tomatoes, you know.
Well, let's just. Am I allowed to talk about? So this is, I don't know, because I wanted to be terribly polite. Am I allowed to talk about what kind of disfigurement it is?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so is there a word for the type of? I mean, your face is. You're beautiful to look at, but it is unusual, your face. So how would you describe yourself?
Well, I have a medical condition called cherubism, which is very rare. It's all about a kind of overgrowth of fibrous tissue. You know, it's very difficult, isn't it, when you're on radio?
Sure.
What does she look like? People are thinking. But my whole kind of face is big and wide. And my eyes also protrude as well, because the tissue that makes my jaw so big is also behind my eyes. And that, to me, is probably the biggest problem that I have. Is not so much how I look, but more about the function with my eyes.
So, see, I find immediately I have a million questions that I want to ask you, that had we met at a party or something. First of all, I would never have mentioned how you look. I would never have asked if it caused you any problems. I would have been one of those fantastically polite people who rather pretended that there wasn't anything for us to discuss. But I do have questions. I do have questions. So what do you do for a living, and does it in any way hamper you with your work?
Well, I work for a disabled children's charity. I'm really passionate about equal rights for disabled people. And I certainly don't think that my disfigurement, which I consider to be a disability, it hasn't hampered me at all.
Now, I notice that you're wearing a wedding ring.
Yes.
I don't know why. It would be a bizarre question to ask anybody, that you're married.
I am married.
But does it surprise some people that...
I think it does. I think, I mean, I've met lots of people, some who have been very nice to me, some who have not been very nice to me because of my face. And I think those who have been not very nice and who maybe are rude to me in the street would probably be very surprised to find that I'm married. Maybe because they think that people like me do not get partners. Maybe they think that we don't have boyfriends or girlfriends or go on dates.
And would the presumption be that your partner also has some form of disability? I don't know if that's a prejudice that somebody might have.
I think maybe some people would think that maybe my husband must be like me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people probably would make that assumption.
Is he?
No, he doesn't have facial disfigurement. He looks normal, bless him.
Now, you refer to it as a disability. Is it a label that you've had to fight for?
For me, it's very much a kind of social and cultural identity, which I first developed when I was in my late teens. And I was at college and I started to read about disabled artists. And I started to identify with the art, with their experiences, about what it's like to have a body that's different from the norm. So for me, it's kind of like coming out. It was like me going, oh, hang on, I kind of know now why I've had all these bad experiences as a child and as a teenager through bullying, or people who have stared or done double takes, the feeling that I'm not quite like everybody else. I can call that something now. I can say, yes, it's because I'm a disabled person. And I had to kind of work through lots of different feelings about that. Should I be embarrassed about that? Because the stigma was quite big. Should I feel disgusted? But actually I've started to go, hey, it's me, it's who I am, it's part of me. I should feel quite proud. It did feel like a kind of coming out experience. I didn't exactly sit my mum and dad down and go, Mum, Dad, I'm disabled. But, you know, it's how I kind of refer to myself.
I mean, what's really bizarre is I totally identify with that element of your life story, because I grew up knowing I was a gay person, but what I grew up knowing was that I was different to everybody else. I mean, it wasn't something that was visible to people. That thing of deciding to claim that part of yourself and to be proud and to not, I mean, I don't regard it as a disability, but I identify with that notion. So what I find extraordinary is that in a short conversation, you and I, for me anyway, we found a mutual ground where we grew up having rather similar feelings about ourselves.
No, absolutely.